Hello, welcome back. Have you ever wondered how ordinary people, just like you and me, experience extraordinary miracles? Moments that go beyond human strength. Moments where faith turned the impossible into reality. Today, I want to take you on a journey of real lives, real struggles, and real miracles that happened because faith moved people to act. Not just faith as an idea, but faith put into action. Let's begin with the story of a young mother. Her name was Clara. She lived in a small town. Life was simple until tragedy struck. Her little boy, only 6 years old, fell seriously ill. Doctors said the infection had spread too far. They told her to prepare for the worst. Clara was devastated. She had no money for expensive treatments. She had no influence. She had nothing left except faith. That night, she knelt by her son's bed. With tears streaming down her face, she prayed. Not a long prayer, just a desperate cry. God, please save my boy. For hours, she sat there, whispering the same words. She placed her hand on her son's chest. She felt his weak heartbeat, and she chose not to give up. The next morning, something happened the doctors could not explain. His fever broke, his strength began to return, and within days, he was walking again. Clara later said, "It wasn't my prayer alone that saved him. It was faith in action." Now, let me share another story. This is about a young man named David. David grew up in a broken home. Addiction, poverty, and violence surrounded him. By the time he was 18, he was already in trouble with the law. People told him he was hopeless. But deep inside, he felt something. A whisper that said, "Your story isn't over." One night, in a prison cell, he picked up a Bible. But because it was the only book in the room, he read, "With God, all things are possible." That night, David made a choice. He prayed for the first time in his life, "God, if you're real, change me." It wasn't instant, but faith in action never is. Day by day, he started changing. He joined classes. He worked to become a better man. Years later, David walked out of prison, not as the broken boy who went in, but as a man with purpose. When people ask him how, he simply says, "I believed," and God did the rest. Now let's talk about Maria, a single mother working 3 jobs. Every day was a struggle. Bills piled up, and exhaustion was her constant companion. But Maria never stopped believing. Every morning before work, she whispered a prayer, "God, give me strength for today." She prayed for strength, and strength came. Not always in the way she expected, but in small miracles. Like a neighbor who suddenly brought groceries. Like a teacher who offered free tutoring for her kids. Maria will tell you, it wasn't luck, it was faith in action. Today, her children are grown, graduates, professionals, living testimonies of a mother's extraordinary faith. And then, there's the story of a village. A small village hid by drought. The land was dry. The crops had died. Families were starving. The people gathered one evening to pray for rain. But among them, only one little girl carried an umbrella. She smiled and said, "If we're asking God for rain, I thought I'd better be ready." And that night clouds began to gather. Rain poured down on the dry land, and the village celebrated. Let me give you one more story. This is the story of James. James was a businessman who lost everything. A failed investment, betrayal from close friends. He went from running a company, he felt like his life was over. But one evening, sitting alone, he whispered, "God, I don't have anything left, except you." He began volunteering, helping others who were also struggling. One act of kindness led to another. One open door led to another. Within years, he rebuilt his business. Today, James employs hundreds of people, and he teaches them, faith is not just believing you'll rise again. These stories remind us of something powerful. Faith is not passive. Faith is not just believing in your mind. Faith is preparing for the miracle before you see it happen. Maybe today you're facing something impossible, a sickness, a financial crisis. Let these stories remind you, you are not alone. Faith doesn't mean you won't face challenges. Faith means you won't face them alone. When you choose faith in action, doors open, and the ordinary becomes extraordinary. So the next time life feels too heavy, remember Clara, the mother who prayed for her son. Remember David, the man who found purpose after prison. Remember Maria, the mother who carried her family through hardship. Remember the little girl who brought an umbrella before the rain came. And remember James, the man who rose again from nothing. They were ordinary people, just like you, but their faith turned into extraordinary miracles. And maybe the next story of faith in action will be yours. Thanks for watching.